everybody, welcome to a Monday Live crochet along. We're going to make an eyeglasses case today. We're going to use a graph that Mr. InStitches will have available up on the screen in a moment. And we're changing things up a little bit from the Fair Isle style that we did all last year. We're going to use a similar looking graph, but we're going to use the half double crochet stitch today. Super simple. It is a little quicker and a little more, I guess, tighter than making an entire square. There's not a whole lot of color changing to be had. You've only got 4 rows where we need to alter our colors. And I'm also going to explain to you how to make this look like sunglasses instead of just eyeglasses, if that's what you need the case for. These make amazing gifts. So if you're trying to think of something a little different, something a little unisex, these are great for literally anybody. And you can just pick their favorite colors or pick some colors that you think you like. I made this one in an off-white and purple. And today I'm going to use off-white and kind of a hot pink color. I'm using cotton. I'm using soft cotton. You can use soft acrylic. You could use really any kind of fiber you like, as long as it's soft. You don't want anything scratchy, because obviously you don't want to scratch. Thank you, Joanne. You don't want to scratch your glasses. Yes, Joanne has found today's sneaky sale. We have this pattern and the graph. It's all one written pattern, including the graph and a mini graph for the little sunglasses variation in our shop. It's today's sneaky sale. It's up top. And thank you so much, Joanne. Also, thank you, Lynette, for super chatting before we even got going. And thank you, Nico, for gifting a membership. Congratulations to Amanda for winning it. Before I go any further with our necessary bits and bobs for today's project, Mr. InStitches is in the house.
Hello, everybody.
I've got a nice big tall glass of water because it is a warm day out there today. Beautiful, but warm. You might want a measuring tape. It's not super necessary, but it's always nice to have a measuring tape when you're working on any kind of project. Pair of scissors, yarn needle, the usual. And I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook today. You can use a 5 millimeter if you want. This is also known as an I or a 9. The slightly smaller hook would be an H or an 8. But that's the hook I'm using. I find that works well with a size 4 medium weight 100% cotton yarn. Like I said, though, you can use a soft acrylic. If you've got that, just make sure it's something that doesn't feel like it's going to scratch your eyeglasses. That's why I like the soft acrylic. I mean, the soft cotton. But soft anything is fine. In terms of how much you need, it's a small project. You want around 55 yards of your background color. In this case, that's a white or the off-white for me. And maybe like 6 yards, 7 yards of your color B, or the color that you're going to use to make the glass part, the eyeglasses. If you're going to do the sunglasses variation, you're going to want a little bit more. So maybe, err on the side of having like 10 to 12 yards, just so you know you have enough. And you can make your little drawstring out of the same color B, out of your color A, or something completely different. You can use ribbon if you want, some kind of cording, whatever you like. I just quickly crocheted a drawstring because I like to do everything in one kind of material if possible. So there you go. Let's get started. We are going to begin with our color A. We're going to be color A crocheting for quite a while, so you can sort of grab your beverage, get your hooks, kind of get comfortable in your chair. There's not a lot of thinking to be done. Mr. InStitches is going to have the graph up here on the upper right corner of the screen. Absolutely fantastic. And of course, I will be singing out all of the instructions as we go. This is a great little beginner project. So if you're new to crochet or you're trying to think of things to make other than just dishcloths, this is a fun one to start with because color changing isn't that difficult. It's a great little introduction to getting used to color changes or reading graphs. And it's a really useful thing. I always need an eyeglass case or a case for my sunglasses. I have multiple eyeglasses and I have cases for them, but then I leave the eyeglass case at home and I need one in my purse, or I've got a new pair of sunglasses and I need a place to put them or store them all. So I like to have multiples of these lying around. Let's go. I'm going to put this over here just so you can see it. There we go. Okay. We are going to begin by making a slip knot and doing some chains. So with your color A, for me, that's the off-white. This is your background color. You're going to start with a slip knot on your hook. We're going to chain 26 There you go, 26 chains in our foundation to begin. You want to make sure you've got 26. We will be dealing with the half double crochet stitch. So unlike the previous usage of these sorts of graphs that Mr. InStitches and I came up with, we're not using double crochets, we're using half double crochets today. So that means that we skip only one chain from the hook and look for the second chain. We're going to half double crochet into that. The turning chains in this particular pattern don't count as anything. We're only going to chain one and turn at the end of every row, and the chain one is just your repositioning chain. All you're doing is turning the corner with it. So half double crochet into the second chain from the hook, half double crochet into each chain all the way across, and you will have 25 stitches at the end of row 1. And 25 stitches is the magical number. Speaking of magic, thank you, Marie. Thank you for picking up today's sneaky sale pattern. 25 stitches in every single row going forward. So 25 is the magical number today. And if you are following the graph, we are starting at the bottom of the graph and working our way up. So the graph is built in a stitch by row format. There are 25 boxes across. Those represent each of the 25 stitches in each row. And it is, how many rows deep is it? 15? 15 rows tall, and the 15 rows represent the number of rows in the entire piece that we're building. As we start from the bottom and work our way up, you'll notice that it's pretty much 10 rows of just blank looking squares, which means that every single stitch in the first 10 rows is all color A. Color A. So you're just going to chain one, turn, half double crochet in every stitch across, and you're going to keep doing that for 10 solid rows. So we're going to have 10 rows of just plain color A, half double crochet, 25 stitches in each of those rows. And what you're doing is building the back half of the glasses case. So it's this part. It's all of these rows on the back and everything up to just below the first row of color changing. So the glasses case is basically built in one piece, and we start at the bottom of the graph, which is the back, technically becomes the back of the glasses case, and we work our way up. So you can just turn your brain off, chain one, turn, half double crochet, always skip your turning chain, half double crochet in each stitch all the way across. We are only half double crocheting for this graph. And you're going to do that for 10 rows in total. You'll have 25 stitches in each row. How is everybody today? I hope you all had a lovely weekend.
In case someone wants to do the sunglasses version,
yes.
Do you want to explain that a bit?
Absolutely. It is the same. So building the sunglasses version of this, the first 10 rows are identical to the eyeglasses case version. The only change comes when we're doing the actual color changing. Hi, Louise. Thank you, Louise, for picking up a pattern. The color changing is the only difference between eyeglasses and sunglasses. And Mr. InStitches has the little sunglasses mini graph there. You can see how it's basically the same as the eyeglasses, but all of the areas in the eyeglasses that where we would change from B back to A to kind of create that clear glass look, we just do the whole thing solid in B. So it's easy to just do the entire thing in color B. No color change. There's not a lot of color changing, so that's a nice, easy way to make a glasses look. Or if you're really kind of, having fun, you can make all of the inside bits of the glasses. So the eyeglasses, where we change back to A for the middle of the glasses. So this part here, you can make it a third color. You can make it a different color, and that's kind of fun for right now. I notice eyeglasses or sunglasses with a big colorful frame and then a different colored frame or different colored lens in the middle is kind of in right now. So you could totally do the outside frame in purple and then do the inside stitches in like black, let's say, for sunglasses. Or just do the whole thing in one color, nice and simple. So you got a few options here. Chain one, turn, half double crochet in each stitch across. And remember, when you get to the end of a row, since we're using the half double crochet stitch and we're only using a single turning chain, that half double crochet at the end of the row, this little guy over here, can sometimes be pulled down the edge a little bit. So don't miss it. And if you're unsure, just count. Pause at the end of the row, count up your stitches, make sure you've got 25. I do love a good eyeglasses case, and I feel like it's a great little gift. Nice stocking stuffer, nice way to maybe give somebody a new pair of sunglasses or something. And they don't take very long. So like I said, they're pretty easy. You're just half double crocheting in each stitch all the way across for like 10 rows. Georgiana, thank you, Georgie. Thank you so much for picking up some patterns. Oh, that reminds me. If you are a Silk or Vicuña member of the channel, make sure you double check the community tab, the community board. We posted a little something for you guys yesterday. And that little something is in effect until Tuesday. Sipping my water. Excuse me. Chain 1 turn. I am entering row 4 now. Back to talking about the graph. If you are studying the graph, you are working right-handed like me. Your numbers are all on the side of the graph that you're kind of going in the direction from. Now, this is a mirror image graph, so it doesn't really matter what side you're coming at it from. A mirror image means that the image that we're going to crochet is the exact same whether you're going from one side or the other. But if you are making a graph that's a little more complicated, Joya, thank you. Thank you so much for picking up a pattern. If you are working right-handed, your row starts on the side where the number is. So you'll see on the graph, there's the 1 is on the right side and then 2 is on the left side. So you're turning at the end of every row. But that's where the row starts if you're working right-handed. If you're working left-handed, you can use the exact same graph. You're just kind of doing it in reverse. So instead of working row 1 starting on the side where the number 1 is, you'd just be starting on the opposite side where the number 1 is not. So left-handed, right-handed, doesn't matter. And you can also work this project from top down if you want to. You can start at the very top of the graph and work your way down. That actually won't change the nature of the sunglasses case either because it's a mirror image design and it looks exactly the same on either side. So if you start at the top and work your way down, that's fine too. Some people were doing that with our Fair Isle style graphs. And if you start at the bottom like I do and work your way up, then it works out, well, exactly the way I'm doing it today. So no worries. Chain 1 turn. Kim's wondering about using 24/7. I would absolutely wholeheartedly recommend using 24/7 cotton for this project. 24/7 cotton is mercerized, so it's very soft. You might want to use the size 5mm hook with the 24/7 cotton, even if you're using the size 4 medium weight 24/7 cotton, just because the mercerized nature of that cotton makes it just a little thinner and less likely to kind of I want to say like kind of flare out. Like when yarn is not tightly wound, it will untorque a little bit, which makes your stitches kind of fatten a little, and that kind of, you know, gives your stitchery a little more bulk almost. But with the 24/7 cotton, it's mercerized, so that yarn does not untorque. It doesn't unspin, unravel, nothing. Maria, thank you. Thank you for picking up a pattern. So it's going to be, it's not going to look as, the stitches won't look as full, I guess is the word I'm looking for, as the unmercerized cotton. So in that case, you just want to use the 5mm hook, which is like a half a hook size down from what I'm using, which is the size H or 8. And it will not change your glasses case very much. It'll just make it a little bit tighter. But I erred on the side of a little bit larger because everybody's eyeglasses are a little bit different, and sunglasses can sometimes be like a kind of a fun affair. So these will fit any glasses, any large or small eyeglasses or sunglasses. And if you make it with the 24/7 cotton, the mercerized cotton, and a slightly smaller hook, it'll still fit pretty much all eyeglasses and sunglasses. It'll just be a little bit tighter, but things do stretch out a little bit over time, so a little bit of snugness with your stitchery is perfectly fine in a project like this. Crocus is using loops and threads cotton. Not as good as some cottons. I haven't had a chance to try any of the loops and threads cotton. If you get to the end, make sure that last stitch, you don't miss it. It kind of is pulled down the edge a little bit. So make sure you're getting that 25th stitch, half double crochet in each stitch across. Please pardon my voice. It's still coming back from the depths of whatever that laryngitis was I had. Chain 1 turn at the end of every row. Skip your turning chain. Half double crochet in each stitch. We are half double crocheting today. So nice, snug little stitches for a snug little glasses case. Goodness gracious. Hello, Tammy. Thank you for picking up that pattern. We'll make sure you get it a little later. JC! Not only is JC got the poetry bug, make sure you family, you check out the post. Thank you, Darla. Thank you so much for picking up a pattern. But JC's in here gifting memberships. Thank you so much, JC. And congratulations, Charlie. Charlie has won it. Welcome back to the family, Charlie. Hey, Regina. I'm using cotton. You can use soft cotton, soft acrylic, soft blend, size 4 medium weight, as long as it is a soft, non-scratchy feeling yarn, because your glasses, sunglasses, eyeglasses will be in this. So you want to make sure it's a nice, soft, size 4 medium weight yarn. So I'm using 100% cotton, but you can use acrylic, you can use a blend, just make sure it's nice and soft. Let's see, how many rows in am I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 rows in. So I'm still half double crocheting in each stitch across with color A, because the first 10 rows of the graph of the pattern are just plain half double crochet in each stitch across, 25 stitches per row, and we do not do any color changing until we get to row 11. So this is a lovely turn your brain off for the first half of this project. Amanda suggests that Mainstays cotton from Walmart, yet another one I haven't had a chance to try yet, is nice and soft, so that's a good choice. I wonder if we will have access to that in Canada at some point. I haven't seen any Mainstays cotton. Kathy, thank you so much for picking up a couple of patterns. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love Skyrim too. I noticed you guys are talking about Skyrim. I've been playing Skyrim since almost it came out. I've got it on like 3 or 4 different platforms, and it's probably my top game of all time, which is really saying something because I love a lot of video games, but Skyrim I just keep going back to. It's like being in another dimension when you're playing. It's amazing. It's absolutely triumph, beautiful creation of a game. It's amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row 7 complete. Chain 1 turn for row 8. Here we go. Sinfonia cotton yarn is awesome, says JC. That's another one I've never heard of. From the Woolery in Frankfurt. And they'll ship it right to your door. Do they ship to Canada by any chance? Oh, everything's pricey here in Canada, Regina. If you think it's pricey in the States, please don't come spend your money up in Canada. You'll wonder where it went. I'd say I've watched the price of yarn in the last 4 years probably almost double. So what used to be like a $6 ball of yarn is now approaching the $12 mark. And that's just in 4 years, which I think is obscene. Nothing should cost that much. Like it shouldn't have, what I should say is it should not have, the costs to manufacturing cannot possibly have doubled in only 4 years. That makes sense over 10 years. It just seems, I don't know, seems a little strange to me. Chain 1 turn, half double crochet in each stitch across. But everything, the price of everything is way, 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 way up. JC says the Woolery does ship internationally, but you won't qualify for free shipping. Yes, I didn't imagine we would. Yeah, exactly, Stephanie. Everything's gone way up except our salaries. Salaries have not gone up. Taxes have certainly gone up. We calculated that the average Canadian pretty much pays 80% of what they make in a year back in some kind of tax. So we are taxed to death here. Thank goodness I've got water to drink.
It's a scam. The little people are getting scammed.
Yes, we're being...
There's a lot of hoodwinkery going on.
There's a lot of hoodwinkery going on
in
yes.
Governments. Hoodwinkery, I say.
That's 9 rows of half double crochet, chain 1 turn, hoodwinkery, I say. I agree. So I am now working on row 10 of the graph. So if you're looking at the graph and you're following along, Nico says she made a Skyrim sweater vest. That is way too cool. I hope you sent me a photograph. I'm working on row 10 now of the graph. So this is the last row where it's just straight half double crochet in color A. If you're looking at the graph, this is the row just below where the green glasses start. I'm going to get this row done. And then Mr. InStitches is going to size up the graph a little bit for us so I can explain what's happening, because now it's important to look at the graph. Not that things become difficult, but we want everybody to be able to see the stitches. I am still going to call them out though, like I normally do. So don't feel like if you can't quite see the graph, you can certainly hear what I'm doing, and I will be explaining as I go.
What did you want me to put up?
Just make the graph a little bit bigger.
Make the graph bigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Healthcare, Wraith, is not what it used to be in this country. We don't have a family doctor. So if we're lucky...
Our taxes have gone up and our services have gone down. And by a lot. I don't mean like fractional. I mean
if you can get a family doctor, you're really lucky. But we don't have one. And then that means that you can't get into anything. So there aren't tons of... just walk-in clinics available either, and if you're lucky you can get an appointment, but it ends up being that our emergency rooms are kind of overrun with people who just have, like, they don't know what, because they can't get in to see a doctor, or the clinics can't take them because they're overworked or overrun. So we've got a serious issue up here. I know of people who were literally pregnant and going into the emergency room to have a baby because they weren't able to see anybody the entire time they were pregnant. So we've got an issue up here. Don't know where all the money's going if it's not going into healthcare. Goodness gracious. Nico gifting another membership. Thank you so much, Nico. Nico keeping things light and airy.
I haven't used my bell yet.
Oh my God, you haven't used your bell.
Well, you're really on it today.
I am.
You got like 4 eyeballs.
Congratulations, BJ, who has won it. Okay, I have completed the first 10 rows of the graph. Mr. InStitches has made the graph a little larger for me. Thank you, sweetheart. Here we go. This piece translates to basically the whole back of our glasses case, plus the rows right up to and including the last row of just solid color A right beneath where our little image starts, our glasses. So for row 11, we're going to introduce our color B. Not a big deal. You don't need spools or anything fancy for this because it's just the one little piece that we're working back and forth in. But you want to get your color B ready to go. So I've got a nice pink here. I'm going to create a slip knot, and I'm going to have that ready to go for when I get across to it. Now, there's going to be a little bit of shuffling back and forth with your colors, but again, not a big deal. And don't worry, things won't get... there's not enough time for things to get knotted up or tangled. So don't worry too much about that. I'm going to give myself a little bit more space here. So for row 11, if you're working right-handed, you are on the right-hand side of the graph. If you are working left-handed, you are on the left-hand side of the graph. But it doesn't really matter because this is a mirror image shot. So here we go. We're going to chain 1 and turn. We're still using half double crochet. We are going to half double crochet into the first 5 stitches using color A. We're going to do full half double crochets in each of the first 4. So there's the first 4 half double crochets all done in color A. Now we've got one more color A half double crochet to go before we change colors. But in order to make changing color neat and tidy when you're using a graph, you want to start the stitch before your color change with the color that it should be. So in this case, A. So I start my half double crochet, but you don't actually finish the stitch with that color. You finish it with the new color. So I'm going to bring my color B in here, put that slip knot on my hook. I'm going to pull that knot slightly tighter. You can see there's a little bit of space there, so it's not super tight. I'm going to finish that stitch with the color B, and now I can tighten up the color A. You can see that the stitch is all color A. So stitch number 5, the 5th stitch of the row, all color A, but I have switched to color B, and that will set me up to have the right color on top of the next stitch. And the top of the 5th stitch there is all color A. So it's all the proper color. Changing colors before you finish the stitch sets you up to have the whole next stitch done in the proper color. So let's show you what that looks like. We are now carrying color A, which just basically means that you crochet over top of the color you're not using. Easy peasy. We are going to half double crochet now using color B into each of the next 6 stitches. So regular half double crochets. I'm working over top of my short tail, but you can leave it out to the back. But I am crocheting over top of color A, and that's important so that you don't end up with the colors being pulled along behind the graph work. You want to hide it all. So you're working over top of color A. I'm also working over top of that short tail, but it honestly doesn't matter. You could weave that in later. And we want to do 6 of these stitches in color B. So I'm going to get the first 5 done. So there's the first 5 done in color B, and you can see what I mean by changing color before you finish off a stitch before the color change. You get that whole stitch done in the right color, and then it sets it up for the whole next stitch to be done in the proper color. So the top of it is the right color, and the post of it is the right color. So that's 5 stitches in color B. I need one more stitch in color B, but it's the stitch before a color change. So I'm going to start the whole stitch in color B, but before I finish it, I'm going to put down color B. So I'm just going to give myself a little more slack here. I'm going to pick up color A, and I'm going to make sure, because I stitched for a while, I'm going to put my finger on that color change, so that the stitches where I color changed, I'm just going to tug gently on color A, just to make sure that it didn't like get squeezed out between the stitches anywhere. So now I'm going to drop color B, I pick up color A, I'm going to just get this little tail out of the way, and I'm going to finish that stitch. Now, if your B is a bit loose, that's fine. Just gently pull it, tighten it up a little bit before you continue crocheting. Now you're going to carry color B and you're going to use color A. So you can tighten up your B just to make sure that all your stitches look the same. We've switched back to color A, and now we're going to work 3 stitches in color A, and we're working over top of color B. So you're just carrying color B. Don't worry about the short tail, you can weave it in later. What's really important is that you are working over top of the color that you're not using so that it disappears. So 3 stitches in A, but of course the 3rd stitch is, you don't finish it with the A because it's the stitch before the color change. So I'm going to put my color A down. I'm going to just gently tug on color B to make sure that it didn't get hung up anywhere. I'm going to finish that row, or that stitch I should say, with the color B, and just gently tug on my colors to make sure everything looks even. And you can see now we've got 2 official color changes done. The first 5 are in A. We switched colors before we finished the 5th stitch. We did 6 stitches in B. We switched colors before we finished the 6th B stitch. And now we're back to A, and we're about to switch to B again. So changing colors, very simple. Just remember to crochet over top of the color you're not using so you carry it. We're back to B, which means we're crocheting over top of A. and it is 6 more double crochet, I should say half double crochet, beg your pardon, half double crochet stitches in B. So there's 5. I know that the 6th stitch in B, I start with B, but I don't finish it. If it's the stitch before a color change, you do almost the whole stitch in the current color, but before you finish it, you drop that color and you switch back to the other color, or whatever color you're sort of working on. So I give a gentle tug to make sure it hasn't pulled out anywhere, or it hasn't sort of squished out between my stitches. And I do that by holding on to the last stitch I made in A, just giving it a gentle tug. I finish that stitch with A, and I pause. I just kind of tug on my colors to make sure everything looks nice and neat and tidy. There we go. Now, that's it for B for this row. So I've done 2 little color changes. It translates to the bottom of the glasses. And now I don't need B for the rest of the row. So I don't need to color or crochet over top of it. I'm just going to drop it right where I last used it. It drops. I've already changed colors back to A. And now the last 5 stitches in the row are all A. I am not crocheting over top of B. I just want to drop that color because I don't need it any longer along this row. So when you're done with a color in a row, you just drop it. You don't have to work over top of it. You just drop it. All right. That is row 11. That's where we've introduced our color B. I've got my little tail. I'll weave that in later. 5A, 6B, 3A, 6B, 5A. That is row 11. Doesn't matter whether you're coming at it from the left or the right. It's exactly the same. That is row 1 of 4 in color changing done. So we've got 3 more to go. Easy peasy. I'm going to have a little sip of my water. Welcome to the family, Stephanie. Thanks for joining. We are so happy that they put you in a good mood. Thank you. Okay, I'm getting very instruction-y here, but want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So we are going to chain 1 and turn. So the chain 1 turn part doesn't change. You're going to turn everything around. Where your color dropped, you want to make sure you've got your yarn on that side so that you're working from this side as opposed to trying to pull it up from the wrong side or the other side. So for example, I like to take a moment to just sort of reshuffle my yarn at the end of a row. I like to keep my color A, because it's the one I use the most, kind of like up top. And then, thank you, Kiki. Thank you so much. I like to bring my other color to the side where, in this case, it's sort of dropped on the front. So I'm going to make sure that it's on the front. And that just kind of keeps any extra tangling from happening. Okay, we're into row 12. If you are working right-handed, you are looking at the graph from the left side. If you're working left-handed, you're looking at the graph from the right side for row 12. But it's the same either way because it's mirror image. Make sure you've chained 1 and turn, skip your turning chain. We are going to half double crochet into each of the first 4 stitches with color A. And stitch number 4 is the stitch just before the color change. So I want to create most of that stitch using A, put the color down, pick up B. You see that it's dropped on this side, so I'm picking it up from this side. And I'm going to be using it a stitch just before where it finished naturally in the last row. So there's going to be a little itty bit of a reach. So I'm going to finish that stitch with B. You can see that there's a reach here where the color is dropped and then it reaches across to start that new stitch. Not a big deal. You just take a moment to reorient yourself. You are now carrying A, so you're going to make sure you're crocheting over top of A. Don't make that too tight, that little pull. You're going to start your B crochet. So there's only 2 half double crochets in B, but you want to make sure you get that reach, get your hook underneath it. Get your hook through the next stitch, make sure you've got A there, and then half double crochet making sure you catch that little reach, and you're crocheting over A, and that just hides that little color. It kind of keeps that line running up along the side where it should be. So that little tiny reach of color is now tucked back up against the stitches of the same color. Only 2 half double crochet in B before we switch back to A. So we start that second stitch in B, put down our yarn, pick up A, finish that stitch in A, and now we are carrying B. So I like to just pause, tug on B, make sure none of my stitches look loose. And now for the rest of this row, this is the row we're on here. We do 2A, 4, or I should say 2B, 4A, 2B, 1A, 2B, 4A, 2B, and then we finish the row with A. If you are making the sunglasses version, remember you've got 2 options here. As you're switching, you can either just do it all solid B, like we showed you in the little mini graph, so you don't have to change colors back to A if you don't want it to look like a clear glass, like an eyeglasses. So you can just continue with B all the way through here until the middle change with A. Mr. InStitches is sort of reorienting the graphs for you. That's your option if you want to do the sunglasses version. If you want your sunglasses to look like you've got a brightly colored lens, I should say frame, but you want to make your lenses black, then you would switch to your color C now. So the middle section, and there's only 2 rows where you're working middle sections, of the glasses would be your color C. Gray, black, some kind of fun sunglasses lens color. So you can use the eyeglasses case if you want to make a different colored middle. You use the eyeglass graph if you want to do the eyeglass version, or if you want them solid colored shades like the little mini graph below, then you can just do this whole area in color B. So it's entirely up to you. I'm going to be doing the eyeglass version again. So after you've worked 2 half double crochet in B, you switch to A or your C, or you're sticking with B, whatever your decision is. And we've got 4 stitches to do for the middle part of the eyeglasses. For me, that's A. I'm making sure that I'm working over B. I start the 4th stitch. I'm going to just hold that last stitch, just tug gently on B to make sure it doesn't kind of gap out on me anywhere. I'm going to switch my yarns around because they're getting tangled. Kiki, thank you for picking up another pattern. I'm switching back to B to finish off that stitch. And before I continue, I just tug on A just to kind of neaten everything up. There we go. We are now doing 2 B stitches before we go back to A for the very middle middle stitch, pardon me. So half double crochet in B. We're working over top of A. Remember, you're always carrying the other color if you need it again in that same row. I start the next stitch in B, I put B down, I pick up A, and I finish it. I do 1 stitch, 1 half double crochet in A for the very middle. That's this stitch here, right between the glasses frame. That little stitch right there is A. So I start it, but I don't finish it with A. I need to switch immediately back to B. There we go. Just sort of tug everything down. I'm back to B. I'm carrying A. I work 2 half double crochet in B, but the second one is the stitch before the change. So I start it in B, and I switch back to A to finish it. There we go. I'm going to carry B. Now, same thing if you were doing the C color for the sunglasses, or you were just doing it all solid B. This you are still doing in B, or your color C, or like me, 4 stitches in A. So if you're a little more advanced, you can really get fun with the colors here. I start that 4th stitch with A, switch back to B, just tighten everything up. I'm still carrying A because I need A in the remainder of the row. I do my last 2 stitches with B. Start that second stitch with B, drop it, go back to A. This really wants to be back here, so I'll just let it be there. And now I'm dropping B. I don't need B anymore in the row. As you can see, we've finished with the whole color changing thing if you're looking at the graph. So the remaining stitches are A, and because the remaining stitches in the row are A, I don't need to work over top of my B. I'm just going to drop it where it is. And I'm going to finish row 12 with 4 stitches in color A.
I'm going to zoom in on the big...
Yep. Back to the big graph.
The big graph, so that if someone needs to pause it later, they can. So just hold on a second.
Mm-hmm. I think we've made our point with the sunglasses. It's pretty obvious, even if you're using the big one.
Yeah.
So you can leave it big there for a little while. I'll just work over here.
Sounds good.
I'm going to weave my little short tail in later, so don't worry about that. We've done now 2 rows of the color changing, so that's row 11, row 12. We have row 13 and 14. Row 13 is very similar to row 12, so there's a little bit of BA all the way through here, but it's not actually as complicated as row 12. Row 12 is the most difficult row, and you've just completed it, so pat yourself on the back. And here we go. We are going to chain 1 with A and turn. If you are looking at the graph and following the graph, you want to look at row 13. So you are on the right-handed side where the number 13 is. Left-handed, you're on the other side of the graph of row 13 where the 13 is not, but it's mirror image, so technically it doesn't really matter. We go 3A, 2B, 6A, 3B, 6A, 2B, 3A, and we're done. So here we go, row 13. The first 3 stitches are in A. I'll make sure that you can see where I am with the graph next to me. The 3rd stitch is started with A but finished with B. I make sure that my B is on the side where it was dropped. There's going to be a little bit of a reach because once again I am using B in a stitch over from where it was dropped. So make sure that reach isn't too tight. Make sure you're carrying A. You're going to work your next stitch with B, but get your hook underneath that reach just so you can crochet over top of it. You're also crocheting over top of A and half double crochet. And that takes that little reach and tucks it up against the like colored stitches, I should say. And we are going to work another half double crochet in B. There's only 2 here, but because there is a color change, you only work the first part of that stitch, and before you change it, or before you finish it, you are switching back to your other color. Now, again, we're on the inside of the eyeglasses. So if you're doing the different colored sunglass lens, you're switching to your color C. If you're just making it solid, then you can just stick with B. Otherwise, it's a change back to A for eyeglasses. I hear a ding. I see Nico. Hi, Nico. Nico with a membership milestone. Nico's been a member for 18 months. Thank you, Nico. Nico says, thank you so much for teaching us how to make and use a graph. I've been able to do so many things, including weaving. Thank you, Nico. I am so glad to hear that. Graph work is so fun. It can make, it can bring so much life and excitement to a regular solid crochet piece. Like, just think about it. This is just half double crochets. Well, it looks a lot more interesting than just plain half double crochet. So I love it. Okay, here we go. Mr. Stitches has shrunk the graph again. That's great. Switching back to A. So I've now completed that first 2 stitches in B. I switched back to A. Once again, we are on row 13. So now I have 6 stitches in A to do. I am working over top of my B. I'm carrying the stitch color I am not using because I still need it elsewhere in the row. Belle! Hello, Belle! Belle's been a member for 7 months with a membership milestone. Thanks so much. I'm glad you're here. So, 5. Just going to kind of tug on that little color B. I start my 6th stitch in color A. I want to finish it with B because I've got 3 stitches in B to do now. Every time I do a color change, I just like to pause and kind of tug on both of the colors just to make sure everything looks neat and tidy. Was that ding for bell?
I had to ring the bell for bell.
Yeah.
That was a must.
A bell for bell. I love it.
A bell for bell. And hubby. Hubby's watching today too.
Bell and hubby. Aw.
Everyone say hello to Bell's hubby.
Hi, Bell's hubby.
Hi, Bell's hubby.
3 half double crochet in color B. This is the middle part of the glasses, or the bridge. You start your 3rd stitch, you switch back to A or C, or if you're continuing with B, you can do that too. 6 in A. Another ding. Ding, ding. Lynette! Hi, Lynette! Lynette's been a member for 16 months. Thank you so much, Lynette. And Lynette had a super chat earlier before we even got going. Thank you, thank you. Those are the 6 stitches in A. I started this number 6 stitch in A. I'm going to finish it with B. I'm carrying A because I still need A in the rest of this row. 2 stitches in B. Start the 2nd stitch in B. Don't finish it. I can now drop B. Finish that stitch with A. I don't need B any longer in this row, so I can drop it completely. And now it's just 3 stitches in A to finish row 13. That is the 3rd row of color change. We've got 1 more row of color changing to do. It is the easiest row. And then we are all done with all the fancy graph work. So you should have the bottom, what looks like the bottom edge of glasses. So we've got these 3 rows done. So whether you're doing the eyeglass version where the middle section is clear glass, you're doing the solid shades version where the whole thing is one color, or you're doing the funky sunglasses where you've got really cool frames and like black interior ones, the middle section is now done. We're going to chain 1 in A and turn. I'm going to make sure that my yarns are all in the right place. Row 14, if you are staring at the graph, right-handed, you are on the left side where the 14 is. Left-handed, you are on the right side where there is no 14, but it's the same whether you're coming or going, so it's okay. We are going to do the first 2 stitches in the row in A, which means there's a color change immediately. Switching from A to B, you're going to have a little reach. So always look for the reach. It could be on the front, it could be on the back, but always look for the reach. And that's this thing right here. I'm carrying A. I'm going to half double crochet over top of that reach. So I'm going to grab it, get my hook under it. Make sure I'm carrying A. That first little transitional stitch, get it out of the way. And now you're going to half double crochet with B for 21 stitches. So that was number 1. You've got 20 stitches to go. Make sure you're crocheting over top of your A color the entire time. This is the top of the lens frame. Belle's hubby says hi. All right, I start the 21st stitch in B. I pause. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to put my finger on the last stitch in A and gently tug on A just to make sure that it doesn't gap out between my stitches anywhere. I'm going to finish that stitch with A, and now I'm done with B. So I'm going to actually snip B. I'm going to give myself a decent amount of tail, a few inches. Put B aside. It can just dangle there at the back, and I will weave it in momentarily. Last 2 stitches in row 14 are in A. So you should have 2A, 21B, 2A all the way across. That is the end of the graph color change work. We've got one more row to do in the graph. Chain 1 turn. Row 15 is all color A. As you can see on the graph, it is all just white boxes all the way across. So 25 stitches in total in A. Now, if you want, especially if you're a bit of a tight stitcher like me, I like to pause and sort of get my yarn needle and bring my yarn needle underneath some of those stitches and loops. Pull that little tail up top. So I've pulled it up to run across the top edge, and I'm going to crochet over top of that tail just to sort of weave it in as I go. Hello, Connie. Connie has gifted a membership. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And congratulations to Sylvia. Welcome back to the family, who has won it. And what else have we got here? So
we have another milestone.
Crocheting over top of that little tail as I go, just to keep things neat. As Jeannie, a member for 41 months. My goodness gracious, thank you so much. With a membership milestone, says, I may finally try a graph with this pattern. It's small, it's short, it's a useful thing. I love useful things. Sometimes if you know you're making a useful thing, it's a lot more motivating to give it a try. I'm kind of motivated that way by useful things.
You could probably get graph paper anywhere. If you have a local office supply,
Yep.
Try the Amazon, Staples,
even
Office
Walmart.
Depot. Walmart probably has it too for school supplies.
Yeah, graph paper is considered at least it was considered a basic school supply once upon a time.
When we were kids.
Yeah, when
which
we
was
were
100
kids.
years ago.
A million years ago.
Who knows?
But yes, it's considered it's since I think the back to school stuff is probably in stores already. So you might have a lot of luck finding it in a lot of places right now, actually. Now, for double crochets and half double crochets, I use a slightly different graph. It's one we designed ourselves. It's a kind of a 2-1 ratio. But if you're using just single crochet, regular square graphs are perfect. And each little square graph will indicate one single crochet stitch. So we're using half double crochets, so that's why our graph looks a little elongated.
I've asked everyone, if we were to ever do a meet and greet in the U.S., where would the best place to go be?
Good question.
Because there's so many places.
I'm weaving in my little tail before I go any further. So if you have a little tail of B, or even still your tails, just take a moment and pause, and let's weave in our little short tails so that we don't have to think about them later on. So I'm just weaving that in. Come on.
How about the park, right in the middle of the park where the geysers are, where they shoot up the hot water?
That Yellowstone?
Right there. We'll all have a barbecue. What's that? Is that Yosemite?
Yosemite? No, isn't it Yellowstone?
Yellowstone. There, that's where we're gonna have it. Yellowstone next to the geysers. On the other side of the line, the do not cross sign.
The do not cross line. Yeah. That thing's so amazing. Okay, we have finished with our little graph. So that is 15 rows at 25 stitches each. You should have the first 10 rows are all just color A. We have 4 rows of color A, B change where we create our little graph image of our glasses. And then you've got one more row, row 15, still 25 stitches, all A, and that finishes off the graph work. So now that we're done with the graph work, we're going to turn this little rectangle into the actual glasses case. So Mr. InStitches is going to leave the little graph up there a little while longer, just in case you're kind of catching up. I am now going to switch to the more crochet-ish version of the pattern where we turned it into the actual case. So this is also really nice and quick too. What you're going to do is chain 1 and turn at the end of row 15, and you're going to pick which side you like better. So I'm going to pull up on that loop. you're going to look at your artwork basically and decide which side you like best, which side you think looks the most glassy, I guess. I like this side where this edge, this ridge of the half double crochet stitch kind of runs across the top of the frame. So this is going to be the outside edge. Now, in order for this to be the outside edge, I want to fold up my back so that the outside edge is facing out. So I've flipped it on its face. So this is the side I want facing out. I flipped it on its face and I folded it up like this. Now, if you're the opposite and you really like this side, you put this side down and you fold it up so that that side is facing out. So everybody with me? The side you like best, you put it on its face. So the side you like best is now facing away from you. The side you like best is face down on your work side or workspace. And you just fold up the foundation row to meet the top of row 15. You're going to put your hook back in your loop. So make sure you've got that little chain one in there. And now, if you want, you can maybe weave in that short tail. I might just do that to get it out of the way. Why not? Nothing fancy. I'm just going to weave it down through some of these stitches here. My stitching is kind of tight, so sometimes I don't feel like I need to go back and forth too many times. Nico! Oh my gosh. Nico, thank you so much. Nico has gifted another membership. And congratulations to Crochet Crazy. Welcome back to the family, Crochet Crazy. Thank you so much, Nico. All right. We are looking at the stitches, the foundation chains, and the matching stitches on the other side. So you've chained one. You're going to skip your turning chain like you normally do. You're going to find that first. Goodness me. Roseanne, thank you for picking up a pattern. You're going to find that first foundation chain. You're going to stick your hook through it and through the corresponding stitch, stitch number 1 along row 15. So the first foundation chain, the first stitch, you've got your hook through there, tighten up your yarn, and we're going to single crochet. We're single crocheting now, and we're going to do this through each matched set of foundation chain and stitch all the way across. We're going to have 25 stitches by the end of the row, so just like any other row, but now they're single crochets. So you find the next foundation stitch, you find the next single crochet, you can pull your work apart if you have to. You can do this all the way along. It does get a little easier, I find. And then you single crochet. Next foundation chain, next stitch, single crochet. Next foundation chain, next stitch, single crochet. And all the way across. Give myself a little more slack on my yarn here.
I am going to send a poll your way.
Okay. Do you wear eyeglasses for sight? Yes, 82%, sometimes 9%, no, 8%. So the overwhelming majority of us wear eyeglasses regularly. How about that? I do. I don't have mine on at the moment, which is really bizarre, but All right, when you get to the last foundation chain, so I'm going to get my hook under there, and the last stitch of the row, so that's stitch set number 25, you're going to actually single crochet through here twice. So just stick your hook back in there after you finish the first single crochet. Single crochet twice, because that just goes weep, it just sort of turns the corner, because now we're going to single crochet along the bottom edge of our little case as well, just to seam up the bottom, because this is the bottom right now. Now these are all rows of half double crochet. So there isn't a set number of stitches, excuse me, that you have to have running along the bottom. You just want to get your hook through both sides. You're going to crochet right around the edges of those stitches, so you're not trying to grab loops or anything. Just jam your hook right through the edge of the piece. Don't crochet too tightly, and you can put in as many or as few stitches as you feel you need. You're just sticking your hook all the way through, and you're crocheting right around the edges of those stitches, like right around those stitches at the ends of the rows. Don't crochet too tightly, but you're going right through the fabric because you're making this a nice sturdy bottom so that nothing wants to slip out the end. And then when you get to the end, it's kind of like the fold. Just get your hook through that fold. One more little single crochet. And that is it. You can fasten off. Grab your yarn needle and weave in that tail. And if you've got like a funny kind of like a gap, it feels like, between where your crochet ends and that little curve is, that is what weaving in is for. So you just slip your needle up through a few of those little stitches, and then you kind of pull the edge of your crochet up into that space, and then double back and weave the tail in as normal. You can weave it in underneath the stitches you just made, or you can weave it in underneath the stitches that run perpendicular to this little row. It's entirely up to you. No rules. I do think it's worth weaving in back and forth at least once, so all the way in one direction, and then like make sure nothing is pulled out of alignment, and then double back and weave them back through the same stitches. That just makes them nice and snug. There we go. And if you've got a little itty bitty bit of a bit, you can trim anything left. Okay, we've got a full case. Now we want to put on the little drawstring row and make a drawstring. So we're almost done. Awesome job, everybody. What are we talking about? Poutine. I love poutine.
We're trying to decide where we're going to have a meet and greet. We've already been requested to go to most of the United States,
Well,
Europe, Australia, a cruise, Alaska, Hawaii.
Well, a cruise would be fun. I'd be so up for a cruise.
A cruise might be the best option so that everyone can kind of meet there. Otherwise, we'd have to travel the world.
If we're
I don't
going
think we have the money for that.
If we're going to go to a place based on poutine, we're going to Newfoundland.
We're all going to meet in Newfoundland?
We'll see you all in Newfoundland for a Newfoundland poutine, because no shade at our beautiful French friends and neighbors to to Quebec who make beautiful poutine, but nobody makes it like the Newfs, baby.
Sounds good to me.
Yum. Okay, let's put on a drawstring row. We're going to use our color A. We're making a slip knot.
I'll do a pull.
Do a pull, yeah. All right, so I like to join, see that first single crochet that we began the seam row with? I want to slip my hook in there and join my yarn with a slip stitch. So I just like being able to slip it right through that single crochet. I also find it creates like a nice sort of evenness. Now we're going to chain 3, and this is a really simple drawstring row. Chain 3, you're going to skip a row edge and then slip stitch into the edge of the next row. I'm going to weave that tail in later. So there's no rules here either. chain 3, skip a row of crochet, and slip stitch into the edge, the bottom, the side, whatever, of the next row of crochet. So you had roughly 15 rows all the way around. So there's 15 rows in your main graph, plus a little row of single crochet, which was the seam. So if you're chaining 3 and skipping a row and slip stitching, chain 3, skip a row, slip stitch, you'll have about 8 of these little chain 3 spaces all the way around. If you have more, that's fine. If you have fewer, that's fine. There are no rules here. We're just creating a place to run our drawstring through. So I chain 3, skip a row, slip stitch into the edge of the next row. That's all I'm doing. I'm going to get about 8 of these little chain 3 spaces all the way around. But if you have more or fewer, it's okay. When you finish with the last one, fasten off. And then I like to, when I do a circle and it's something simple and singular, like a single row of crochet where I've joined and fastened off in the same row, if my ends come back to meet, I like to take my 2 ends and knot them together. I feel like it just creates a little bit more strength, tightness, tension, and the less likelihood of anything to want to unravel in the future. So knot your 2 ends together and then just sort of roll back the inside of your case, and you can weave those 2 tails in underneath some of the stitches. You can go sort of perpendicular to your last row, or you can just sort of find loops that run sort of, they're gonna be just loops of stitches, not necessarily in a row. When you pull your tails through, just don't pull them very tightly, and you won't make anything look funny. But you can just weave your tails in under really anything, so long as it's the same color. So there goes one.
So change of plans. We're all going to Kim's house.
We're all going to Kim's house?
Yep.
All right.
Kim, get your house ready.
Put the tea on, Kim.
You're going to need a lot of chairs and a lot of food.
Oh, we'll definitely do a potluck. What's everybody's favorite potluck meal to make? That's a good one. Everybody's got one. I know it. Everybody's got one thing that they like do well. They do it so well that they don't even have to look at a recipe. There's a knitting cruise sponsored by the government of Norway. What? Is that part of that?
It's the one that's connected to the Faroe Islands festival.
That big festival?
The knitting festival.
That sounds amazing.
That sounds like a good one to go to.
Are the knitters going to turn their noses up at the crocheters,
they
though?
Might. It might turn into a hook fight, like
they
a
might
sword
be like,
fight.
This is knitting
Crochet
only.
hook versus knitting needle.
Take your hooks and leave.
Like Zorro style.
Okay, that is the little row of drawstrings. You'll have at least 8, one more, one fewer, doesn't matter, of these little chain 3 loops all the way around the top. That's our drawstring row. Let's make a drawstring now. I'm going to grab my color B. Easy peasy. Start with a slip knot. Chain 40, or as many as you need.
Peanut butter pie. Yes, please. That sounds good.
That sounds amazing. Ooh, chili and cornbread. Oh, I'm going to Celeste's.
Tug of war for knitters and crocheters over a mud pit. How about over that scratchy yarn?
Ooh.
That'd be scarier than mud.
Yeah, I think so.
A big pile of that dish scrubby yarn.
Marie makes brownies. Oh, I love brownies. Coleslaw. Oh my gosh. All right, 40 chains, or as many as you think you need.
Festus, Montana?
Fasten off.
I'm in.
Festus. Oh, I love Montana.
Are there mountains? If there's mountains, I'll be there.
Pull the ends on your drawstring, both of them, really, really tight, because you want those knots to be pretty, like, not going anywhere. Ha ha ha. And then you can trim the ends, neat and tidy. That's your drawstring made. And then you can just weave them through those little...
MO is Missouri.
Missouri? Oh, is MO Missouri?
I thought MO was Montana.
What's Montana? MN?
MN, maybe?
I thought that was like... Massachusetts.
Germany, Berlin.
Ooh, Berlin.
I'm sure there's a lot of venues there we could rent.
Drawstring is just woven in and out through those little chain 3 spaces. Nothing fancy. And you are done. Ba-ba! Ha! I've got one in pink and white.
Montana is MT. That's good to know, because I always thought it was MO.
Lake City, Minnesota. Population a little over 3,500. This sounds beautiful. River Rune, lake across the whole front of the town. It's gorgeous. Wow. That sounds lovely.
Lake City, Minnesota. We'll check it out.
Yeah, Marie, we definitely have to have a party where the fur babies are allowed. We'd have to keep the dogs and cats separate, though, I think.
And the knitters and crocheters. They also have to be separate.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, mini pigs in a blanket or Pebbles Rice Krispies. Oh, Rice Krispies made with Pebbles instead of Rice Krispies. Cool. Yum.
Oh, that sounds good.
Travel and potluck. Those are two fabulous themes to discuss. All right. Just to sum up, there we go. We've got a sunglasses or an eyeglasses case. This is a great gift. So since we're kind of doing a little bit of, Christmas in July, this isn't Christmassy at all. This is any time of the year. But if you're working on gifts or you're making your gift list or whatever it is you might be kind of getting ready to go for the holidays, you might want to add this one to the list. Eyeglasses cases are a great gift for literally anybody. If they don't wear eyeglasses, chances are they wear sunglasses. So you can try this version of the graph where you change the color on the inside. And I think that would look really, really fun. You can make them in their favorite colors. You can just make them in, nice neutrals or whatever. But this is a great gift idea. It's simple. I have these little balls of handicrafter yarn, and I got 2 cases out of the color A, and I still have some left over. So these guys don't take up a lot of yarn. I would say this is a good project for those leftover balls of the soft yarns, your size 4 cottons, acrylics, anything that's soft, doesn't want to pill easily. So the non-pilling acrylic yarn would probably be good as long as it's soft. Remember that somebody's lenses are going to be against it. So I recommend cotton first. But there are lots of soft acrylics out there.
In regards to notifications, there's really nothing we can do about that. Google's system is always wonky. I'm constantly asking for being notified for an event or a live stream, and I never get the notification. So I don't know what they're doing over there, but
it could be your own software. Sometimes the YouTube software updates, and then your own device software doesn't update.
Yeah, it could be
typically. Always pop in and check our community tab for updates and information. That's where we post information if things are going to change or if there's something new coming. But our Monday live streams are pretty much, unless there's an issue, always Mondays at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern. So if your device has a calendar, put that in your calendar as a repeating event and it will notify you. And our Friday videos are almost always Friday afternoons at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So if you don't want to miss those, you can put that in your recurring events calendar, and you can give yourself a little ding notification.
And also
and you can rely on your own calendar.
Subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed, because sometimes YouTube unsubscribes people for just random. It's like a glitch or something.
Yeah, it's weird.
So just double check that you're that it says subscribed and not subscribe, and click on that button.
Yeah. Okay. So, and like I said, check the community tab, or put the reoccurring event in your own calendar. That's what I do for stuff I don't want to miss, because I rely on my own software.
I'll post the community tab. You could make this favorite this link on your frequented website use, and then you just tap on it every so often, and
Absolutely.
you'll catch the news.
If Mr. InStitches has another poll going, make sure you close it.
Yes, I do. I'm going to close it down. I'll wait another minute.
I want to make sure that everybody knows that today's pattern is in the shop. It's today's sneaky sale, so if you do want to pick up a copy of it, please feel free to do that. If you are a Silk or Vicuña member, make sure you use the promo code that is in the community tab. Another good reason to check the community tab. We have a little promo going on over on the community tab that was posted yesterday, so make sure you check that out. And it's in effect until tomorrow if you're Silk or Vicuña. Thank you so much. The pattern includes the graph, and it also includes the mini graph for the sunglasses, the all one color sunglasses, if you wanted to try your hand at that. It's got the written instructions too, so it's the complete package. This was a fun use of those crafts that we created last year. We did the half double crochet this time instead of double crochet. I really like that. I still feel like you get that definite image going with the half double crochet versus the double crochet. And the half double crochet, especially in a case like a project like this, it's a denser stitch, so you're less likely to have things sort of stick out, or you're not gonna you're not gonna lose anything. So I think this is a great little gift. If you wanted to, before you folded it in half and stitched it shut, you could line it. And we just did a tutorial on lining the wall hanging. On a small scale, the same concept applies. So if before you folded it in half and stitched around it to line it, or to seam it up, you could sew in a little lining if you wanted to make it extra fancy. And that's also great if you've chosen a yarn that isn't super soft. You can line it with a satin or a sateen or a crochet or like a quilt cotton. You can line it with a simple little rectangle of fabric, stitch it into place, and then fold it up and seam it shut. And now you'll have a completely lined little eyeglass case. So if you want to make it an extra special case, an extra smooth and soft, that is an easy thing to do to this pattern. And I highly recommend it if you've got, especially if you're if you love sewing and you've got a lot of like scraps and stuff around. It makes a really great gift, and it's good for anybody. So put it on your gift making list. It's not complicated. It doesn't take a long time. We literally made one from start to finish in an hour and 10 minutes, and that's with me chit-chatting and discussing stuff. So not a slow, not a long project. You can whip up a whole bunch in a weekend if you want. I would just like to thank you all for being here on a Monday, spending some time with us, doing a little crocheting. Big thank yous to everybody who has gifted memberships or who has put in membership milestones, who is a member. Thank you so much. Gigantic thank you to everybody who's picked up a pattern, and a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed. Just being here really helps us out. And it encourages us to keep going. We really do love this, but we wouldn't be doing this if you guys weren't here hanging out with us, watching, giving us awesome suggestions. We have got so much more fun coming for the fall, for all the rest of the summer. We've got, of course, the back half, the next 6 granny squares of this year's calendar blanket to go. So there's just so much more still to come in 2024. So much more in 2024. And I just want to take a moment to thank you guys. I don't feel like I get a chance to thank you enough. So you're all wonderful. I love you deeply. You're the reason that we do this. And I hope you enjoyed making this with us today. Is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. InStitches?
I guess we'll just wrap up the poll, and I think you covered it all. So here it comes.
Great. Here comes the poll. Future meet and greet. Cruise ship, 41%. Venue in USA or Europe, 39%. Newfoundland, 15%. Alaska, 4%. I love all of those options. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think a cruise ship would be a lot of fun. Not only can you stuff your face constantly, which is something I like to do.
That's the most important part.
I would basically just eat 24/7 if I could. But you can crochet by the pool, baby. Woohoo!
Ooh, I like that.
Get that bucket of beer.
Crochet in the pool.
Crochet in the pool? Actually, I would like to try that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, you darlings, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you Friday for our regular scheduled Friday video. It'll be up at 1:00 p.m. Eastern. And like I said, if you have trouble with the notifications, just put the reoccurring event in your own personal calendar with a little bell reminder. Our Monday live streams are 11:00 a.m. Eastern. And our Friday videos are 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And we don't see any point in changing that anytime soon, so feel free to put it into your calendar as a reoccurring event. And speaking of reoccurring, we will reoccur here on Friday. Until then, have a wonderful week. Stay safe, stay crafty, and we'll see you guys.